everyone, welcome back to the range. My name is Matt. We've got a body armor test slash review slash torture test slash redneck science to do today. I think I finally made it into the big leagues. Normally I test a lot of lower end budget armor, but I've got a smaller manufacturer plate today that's normally known for making pretty high-end stuff. This is from Stealth Armor Systems. They are very well known for making their flexible rifle armor plates called Hexar. This one's a little different. This one they trademarked the name Dragon Skin 2.0. This is a flexible, it's kind of hard to do on camera, rifle plate. A level 3 in conjunction with, so we need a level 3A backer behind this little guy. He weighs 5 pounds 11 ounces by himself and is approximately 1 inch thick. Our level 3A backer that was also sent to us by Al weighs 1 pound 6 ounces, so right around 7 pounds for a complete system weight. In full transparency, Al over at Stealth Armor Systems provided us with this system to test with no strings attached. The Dragon Skin 2.0 uses a ceramic strike face and has been independently tested by various third-party N.I.J. labs. While I'm not an N.I.J. lab myself, I'm just a redneck in the woods, kind of like Mr. Guns and Gear is a redneck in the tobacco field. I try to stick to some N.I.J. constants so that there's data that you can take away from this, whether you're a consumer or manufacturer. I shoot at 45 feet, that is the N.I.J. testing distance for rifles. I shoot at 0 degrees, that is worst case scenario for the armor. I use this giant clay briefcase that you see right here, filled with Roma Plastilina #1 clay, was donated by Chavant. Since this does employ a ceramic strike face, per the N.I.J., I have a drop test rig that I drop it on its face 2 times as a preconditioning test. This clay needs a specific temperature to represent back face completely and certify, and I can't keep that temperature out here in the woods, so we just kind of get a representation, and it's a nice compressible media for the armor to act against as if it were up against your real chest. Since the N.I.J. 07 standards are not finalized and published yet, this particular plate is rated level 3. It's rated for M80 ball. It's also rated special threat for M855 as well as 7.62x39 mild steel core. I put a spreadsheet at the beginning and end of all of my testing videos so you can see all the different rounds that we're going to shoot at it, and at the end I fill it all in so you have that nice summary there so you don't have to keep going back and forth between the video to figure out what's going to happen. Allow me a few moments to reorganize everything, and I think we're going to have some fun today. To be completely honest, the most interesting part of this test for me will be at the end when we tear it down, because I'm interested in seeing how all the different components inside of this come together to make this scalar armor work. If I forgot to mention, it's about 75 to 80 degrees outside today, so very warm. We use our Prochrono Digital DLX so we get a velocity reading off these different rounds so that we know if it stops it at 3,400 feet per second, if you have a shorter barrel length or something else or distance, it's going to stop that round. I have 5.56 threats to test out first. Now this is rated level 3 with special threat ratings for M855. The new and upcoming N.I.J. 07 standards replace level 3 with RF1 and 2, and that adds ratings for M193 and M855. So I've got M193 first, that is 55 grain full metal jacket. I have M855, that's the Army's old 62 grain steel penetrating tip round. Then I have M855A1, that is the Army's current issue round, 62 grains, enhanced performance, has a larger arrowhead steel tip there, hardened about 10 more points on the C scale. We have a 22-inch TC compass with a turbo 5.56 on here, so we're going to see maximum velocity in a testing instance. So again, if it stops it from these velocities, you know in a real-world engagement, someone firing a 16-inch barrel at 100 yards, that armor is just going to brush it off. I've marked some spots on the plate so I can maintain what the N.I.J. would consider a fair hit. That's at least 2-inch shot placement between each shots. I know sometimes they go 3, so I like to keep 2 so that maximizes the amount of shots we can take on our plate. So the M193 will be at the top of the plate, left side. A little low on the velocity there. I'm using some IMI M193. My independence is getting a little on the low stock-wise. This will be right next to it. Then the M855. That had a really good velocity for an M855 load. Let's see. This will be back to the left. Then our A1. Good velocity there. And then the last A1 will be all the way to the right. Good velocity there. Let me go down and mark the plate and we'll see if we got through this bad mamma jamma. Sorry for the hesitation in calling out these shots. With this nylon type cover, it's hard to see those hits at 45 feet unless it's blowing a lot of the plate away, and that doesn't appear to be the case. So I had to take my time, and then we come down here to make sure we hit where we wanted to. So here was M193 shot number 1. Here was shot number 2. Here's M855. You can see how tiny those holes are. Shot number 1, shot number 2. Then our A1 was right here. Then our second A1 I placed all the way over here because, like I said, I couldn't see if I hit anything here or not because of how tiny these holes are. If you see any ceramic fragments down here, these are from another test. I haven't cleaned the table off yet. So initial impressions are very good that it's containing the materials of the plate inside here so that they're, you know, not blowing out everywhere. I will say that Al did send a plate carrier for this level 3A backer and this plate with it. I don't like using those in any of the tests because I'm not really too concerned about fragmentation coming off the plate. I'm giving you worst case scenario. But that plate carrier was built very nicely. All right, what do we got back here, folks? Little to no deformation. I see some dents there. Hard to say if those are actual penetrations or if those are just the material coming through. I see a little bit of aramid fibers there. There's our hits on the plate. As I mentioned, this is a level 3 in conjunction with, which means you must use a level 3A backer behind it, mainly for blunt force trauma. But sometimes if a projectile does squeak through, there is a chance, if it's deformed or, you know, not traveling straight and it's tumbling or something, this could catch it. I do not see any pass-throughs whatsoever in our 3A backer. So if any of those did make it through, they didn't make it through the 3A backer. And then as far as our back face goes, this is just a representation because I can't keep the clay to the temperature, but I got a depth gauge here. It's got some spider web crap on it already. And it looks like I kind of beat this flat when we started. 17 millimeters, 14 millimeters, 17 millimeters. Very controlled back face. Normally when we get to the 308 threats is when we see huge dimples in this clay. 556 threats with good polyethylene and aramid fibers, that back face is very controlled. All right, it's time for this plate to earn its stripes. We've got our 308 threats and advanced ones at that. We're going to start with the 16-inch barrel, and if this plate is able to stop these threats from the 16-inch, I also have the 22-inch as well. So I have M80A1, that is the Army's current issue ball round. It is 130 grains with a copper core, has a hardened Rockwell C-scale, arrowhead tip on there, very similar to M855A1. I do believe the replacement for the Army's M993 true armor piercing round is designed very similar to this, except it has a tungsten tip in it. From what I've read and understand, with ceramic penetration exposed tips tend to help it penetrate versus what I have here, which is P80 black tip. This is either Israeli or FN manufacturer, very similar to M61, but a little different. It's 152 grain with a hardened steel core, and it looks a little like M2AP, but not quite the same. I'm not sure how thick the ceramic discs are on this plate, so once we've taken these shots, we'll go down and see what we did. And I think it's only fair that we test these because we've used these in other assessments, and if you have a really good level 3 or 3+ plate, it will stop these even from a 22-inch barrel. And the mosquitoes are out now. Yay. So this one will be on the left side under the A1 shot. Good velocity there. Then this one I will place all the way to the extreme right. Good velocity off that. All right, let's go see if we made it through that plate. Like some of our newer offerings that we've been testing that employ the little hexagon tiles, those particular little tiles are good at absorbing multiple hits on a plate without degrading the entire strike face. So here we have larger circular discs that I would assume do the same thing. So if I hit up here, that trauma is going to be localized here and cracks won't propagate through the entire strike face because it's not monolithic. Sorry about that, the mosquitoes are getting me. So here was our M80A1 shot right here, about 2 inches from the M855A1 shot there. I would consider that a fair hit. And then our P80 black tip was all the way over here, a little close to that A1 shot there as well, but we'll see what this did. If it looks kind of iffy, we have more area on this plate to test. Oh, we have some pass-throughs, folks. We got a pass-through there on both shots, but look at that. That is, if I can get it out of there, is part of our steel penetrating arrowhead there. You can see it is broken up if I get a little close there, if it'll focus. So it made it through the bulk of our plate, but then the question is, did it penetrate through our backer? And the P80, it did. R.A.N.G.E, there is a clean hole through there, but our M80A1 through the backer, no pass through. The P80 black tip, like I said, is kind of way outside the purview of the N.I.J. Special threat there. Here's the back face on our M80A1. Right around 31 millimeters, so very controlled back face for a 308 threat. We've seen a lot more with some of our rigid panels, so this flexible one controlling that back face, probably the combination of the polyethylene 3A backer here and the aramid fibers that they're using in the actual plate itself. Okay, time to dump some muzzle energy on this plate. We've got our 22-inch TC compass, got the JK armament rifle kit up there, so we're going to see maximum velocity. This is M80 ball. Lead core typically has a bimetal jacket, 142 to 150 degrees, depending on the manufacturer. Should see over 2,700 feet per second out of it. This is PPU. Normally I have some PMC, but this is what I happen to grab out of the box. Now, being that this is rated level 3 and Al has actual N.I.J. certified models in his Hexar line, I fully expect this to stop these rounds and provide us with very controlled and within specification back face. Got the old rotary magazine here that doesn't like to go in the gun. I'll probably place these all right in a line. Good velocity off that. Ooh, a duplicate. Consistent. A little under specification. I think the spec is 2750, or maybe it's 2780. Yeah, a little on the weak side. Let's go see what we did. I apologize that we don't have any cool threats. Normally, you got to get to level 4 before I bring out the 300 Wind Chad. All right, I've got all my ducks whack whack in a row right here. M80 ball number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4. The N.I.J. and I would consider those fair hits. Let me zoom out a little bit here. Make sure the camera's in a good spot. We're going to be looking at the bottom of the plate anyway, so we'll go down. I'm getting really excited because we're going to get to tear this guy down in a second and see what he's made of. And as Al so carefully asserted when we've been talking, no pass-throughs on our 308 ball. What's the back face going to look like? That last one looks to be about the largest of them. Like I said, my clay is just a representation. The warmer it gets, the more it could show. Get the old depth gauge out here. Air must be really clear today. Not smelling any trees or anything. I'm smelling this clay or materials from the armor. My sniffer's working really good today is what I'm saying. 33 millimeters. Impressive. That is very controlled back face. 27 on that one. Now for the part that I and many others have been waiting for, the teardown. Our backer, our 3A backer here is just all polyethylene. You can see that white material there. This did its job very nicely. Here is our cover, just a nylon type material. Now, before I show you the cool part, underneath that was this high density foam. This is what is used to protect the strike face against drops, bumps, and bruises. Now, this is where it's going to get badass. Look at those tiles, all those little discs. That is one of them. I'm not sure how thick they are because there's like a bump here in the middle of them, but I measured the outer edge at about 175 thousandths. What's really cool is I talk a lot in other tests about adhesives. Most of what you see on the outside of this little disc here, I think this is silicon carbide. I might have said alumina at one point, but this looks like silicon carbide. Look at that. That is the adhesive that they are using to help bond these tiles to this Aramid Kevlar fiber. And you can see how many of these tiles, or discs, I should say, discs, tiles, pieces of ceramic still exist on this plate. So your crack propagation and your destruction of ceramic is really limited to each one of these discs or a group of discs. And because of its overall size, it's going to allow that crack propagation and that degradation of the projectile to happen properly when you get into those larger threats. I think that's what we're seeing with these smaller hexagon tiles when they fail to stop threats that they should stop, is that the formation of that conoid, or however you say it, doesn't happen. So these seem to be a very good size to do that in 308. Behind that is a bunch of the ceramic that's all over the place. Then we have polyethylene, which looks like they've done a really good job of sewing the layers together. Since this is designed to be flexible, this part isn't rigid. Then on the back is more of that Aramid fiber, which is used to bond it all together. There were our only two penetrations from the M80 a 1 from the 16-inch barrel and the P80 black tip. These little dimples right there are the 308s. Well, everyone, I got a taste and I want more. I probably really shouldn't lick these or put these in my mouth because I'll get sick. This Dragon Skin 2.0 from Stealth Armor Systems shows a very good improvement in quality and workmanship over the original Pinnacle Dragon Skin. This plate stopped everything it was rated for and then a little bit more. Price-wise, this flexible armor system is quite a bit more than almost any other rigid offering, but they're made in a smaller manufacturing base than some of the larger big guys. So that's going to give you more attention to detail and assure quality throughout every single piece of armor that is produced. The advantage to the flexible is kind of like multi-curve. With no curve, that plate's just sitting there and uncomfortable. You get a single curve, and depending on the person is a little more comfortable. Then you get into multi-curve and you've got all the curves and it fits your chest really nicely, and you can, stretch your arms out when you're going to shoot or go prone, and it's just more comfortable. So when you get into flexible, it can move with your body so that you're going to feel like it weighs less because it's going to take more of that weight off of your shoulders. Well, it's time for me to close up shop. I've got hibachi for dinner. I like salmon and chicken. I take a moment at the end of all of my videos to thank all those who help make these possible. Number 1 is my Patreon supporters. Number 2 is Al over at Stealth Armor Systems, who in full transparency provided this armor system for me to test with no strings attached. Like I said, this is just the tip of testing for him, and I look forward to doing more. And of course, number 3 is you all for watching. Until next time, I'll catch you at the range. As M855 and 7.62 by 30 not tobacco field. I'm a redneck in a tree field.